This game was ugly.
So much pain! So much pain!
Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and I am checking in for another Chicago Bears reaction. And unfortunately, again, it is after another Chicago Bears loss, which makes 5 straight losses on the season as the Bears drop a one on a roll, 31-10. To the New York Jets to fall to 3-9 on this season. But before I get into my thoughts and my reactions of this Bears game, make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow and it beats the YouTube algorithm. And if you are one of the people that are watching this that are not sub, go ahead, click the subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any other videos that I post. But let's talk about this Bears defeat. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
Dinkelberg.
I mean, where do I start with this Bears game? Because at this point, they lost this game in every way imaginable. The Bears lost this game. They couldn't get any pass rush up front. The Bears only had 1 sack, and that was the first sack in 2 weeks that has come from the front four. The secondary injuries proved costly with Brisker and Gordon out, and Eddie Jackson getting hurt during the game, and that was during a touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson. I'll give my thoughts on injury later, but the injuries to this Bears secondary prove extremely costly. The front four just cannot create any pass rush at all, and we didn't even get home on blitzes. This Bears defense just looked absolutely terrible, and the injuries are, I believe, a huge part in it. The lack of talent was another part in it, and it just felt like the Bears are playing with a preseason roster on defense, and it just looked absolutely bad from the start, where the Jets get their first drive right down the field and get a Garrett Wilson touchdown, and on the second drive they get a 3-and-out, but right after that the Jets get another long touchdown to Garrett Wilson, and it just looked like Garrett Wilson from the Ohio State was going to have a big day against this Bears defense. The offensive woes, I kind of seen those coming. The first 2 drives for this Bears offense, they got down the field, got a field goal. They got down the next drive, got a touchdown. After that, nothing. The Bears offense did absolutely nothing. They didn't get past midfield until later on in the third quarter. This game was bad from every imaginable standpoint, offense, defense. They had one special teams play where the Jets missed a snap, and the Bears and the Jets were fumbling the ball around on that. And that almost turned into the Jets having the football right back after the Bears had possession, was starting to look, and they fumbled again, but luckily enough, the Bears were able to come back on top of it. Now, I did say something about the Eddie Jackson injury, and the injuries in this game proved costly for the Bears. Not only did Eddie Jackson go down hurt, and he was immediately ruled out for the game. You had the Bears' best wide receiver up to this point in Darnell Mooney go down, and he was ruled out for the game with a foot injury, an ankle injury. You had Larry Borom go down at the middle of this game, and you had Chase Claypool, who was limping around on the sideline dealing with an injury in his own right. So for this Bears team, the injuries proved way too much. You already had Justin Fields out. You already had Brisker out. You already had Khalil Gordon out. And then on top of that, to lose Eddie, to lose Mooney, to lose Claypool maybe, and lose Borom during the points of this game, some of your more talented players on this roster are already down. Do you have more to add to it? There was only one direction for this game to go, and that was ugly. And then on top of that pregame, it was a question if Trevor Siemian was going to play with an oblique injury that he sustained in warmups. And it was looking like Nathan Peterman was going to be the starting quarterback for this Bears team going into this game.
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous.
And it was just a downhill fall from there. Offensively, they ran the ball solidly, but overall, just past the first two drives, they couldn't really complete much down the field throwing the football. And that has been a struggle for this Bears team all season. Now, I will give the Bears offensive line maybe a little bit of credit. They did only allow 2 sacks to a guy that is a stationary guy in the pocket in Siemian. And it just looks like the injuries proved way too much for this Bears football team to overcome. Mike White looked absolutely good in this game. He threw for 22 for 28, 315 yards, and 3 scores. And Ty Johnson had a running touchdown of his own for the Jets. And it just looked like the Jets was moving the ball up and down the field on this Bears defense. And I will give credit to Mike White. He came out and he played some really good football. I'm not going to be the one that say he did this against a bad defense. He did this against the defense that was injured. You still have to come out and play football. You still have to come out and execute and make your throws. So I will give Mike White credit for coming out and playing a really good football game in his first start with the benching of Zach Wilson. This Jets defense looked a little bit sluggish the first 2 possessions, and we all knew at some point this Jets defense was going to show up, and this Jets defense showed up, and they made life hell for this Bears offense and Trevor Siemian. The one thing I want to touch on a little bit is that the Bears still have fight. Even though the score was 31-10, during that first half, the Bears showed that they can compete. They tried to hang themselves in the game. They tried to really compete. And it just shows that this team has fight. This team plays hard. It's just the lack of talent and the injuries that the Bears have on both sides of the ball, and they suffered, just became way too much for the Bears to clearly compete after halftime with the 17-10 deficit. In the third quarter for the Bears, it was just an absolute implosion. They could not stop anybody. They couldn't even move the football well. The third quarter was an absolute implosion, and that is what really cost them this game. Now, the Bears have been a second half football team all season long. They played well in the second half. It's just today, it just did not happen for this team. Now, I did predict in my preview video that this game was probably going to be a little bit ugly. This game wasn't going to be one of those games that the Bears were really going to compete in, but the injuries do not help, especially during the game, and the lack of talent really started to show themselves. Now, one thing I will praise the Bears for is the play of Jack Sanborn after the trade of Roquan Smith. Over these past couple of weeks, Jack Sanborn has really looked like a good find for this Bears football team. He has been all over the field, flying around, making plays, making tackles, but at times you can see his inexperience start to show. He misses some assignments, but the one thing I will give credit for is that he plays at 100 miles per hour at all times. He plays hard and he plays fast, and that is something you really want to see from your middle linebacker, a young linebacker who was undrafted, just thrust into the lineup after the trade, and he really started to play some really productive football. Touching back on that third quarter, the score was 31-10 after that, and at this point we kind of knew as Bears fans that this ball game was going to be over. But they did clamp down a little bit in the fourth quarter, but the Jets did start to run the football a little bit more to kill the clock and just go in that 4-minute, we need the game type of offense later on. And it really, really killed the game from there. So it was just at this point that I kind of knew this was going to happen. I kind of expected this to happen. Maybe not the score being as bad, but at the end of the day, the lack of talent and the injuries that were suffered before and during this game proved absolutely costly for this Bears team. It's not going to be a long reaction because it's not much to touch on. It's not much to really look at going forward to next week against the Green Bay Packers. We kind of expected this from this Bears team. Justin Fields being out, that dynamic was absolutely gone. that dynamic of this Bears offense, whether it was him running the football, whether it was him making plays, it was just not there, and it started to show really after the first 2 drives of this ball game. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to wait and see what Eddie Jackson's injury is going to look like. I hope it is not bad. They ruled him out quickly, which really gave me some trepidation or some worry going forward. It's just that this Bears team right now, the tank is real. The tank is absolutely real, and this ball game showed it. The Jets defense was a stout defense to begin with coming into this football game. The questions were what they're going to do on offense. Elijah Moore for the Jets had a really big game, and he showed up. Garrett Wilson, Todd Johnson out of the backfield. Carter before the injury. This team for the Jets, I'll give them credit. They came in and they put on a clinic offensively. They came in and put on a clinic defensively after the first 2 drives. This Jets team, I did say it was one of the more improved football teams coming into this year, and it started to show in this ball game, albeit the Bears team that is just absolutely bad at this point, especially on both sides of the ball, especially with the injuries. It's just this game was a mess from the Bears standpoint when you want to look at it from the score, where you want to look at it from the talent and the injuries. So at the end of the day, this Bears team is pretty much right where we expected them to be. This game pretty much went right where we expected it to. And another positive thing that I kind of want to touch on is the player Darrington Evans over Tristan Ebner. Darrington Evans came in and played really solidly. He ran hard. You can see the quickness. You can see some things that he can do in this Bears offense with the absence of a guy like Khalil Herbert. Montgomery is still running hard. Montgomery is still being a physical running back that he is. The running game for the Bears still there. You can still see some flashes. You can still see some things to improve on with the running game despite it being solid. It's just at the end of the day, the injuries and the lack of talent really showed themselves in this ball game, and that is why the Jets were able to defeat the Bears the way that they did. Now, the numbers from Trevor Siemian: 14 for 25, 179, and a touchdown and an interception late to C.J. Mosley made a great play on. We wasn't expecting much from Siemian, and I really wasn't expecting much if it was Peterman. So this game went exactly how it went, and went exactly how I expected it to. So, but that's all I really got to say. I don't really have too much to say. Bears lose 31-10 to the Jets to drop to 3-9 on the year. But those are just my thoughts. Make sure you guys leave this video a like, as it always helps the channel to grow. Comment your thoughts about this game down below. I would love to see what you guys think. And as always, make sure you guys click the sub button, notification bell, so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bear down. Peace.